Hey everybody, it's Bust, and today we're doing battle in All Commons Twist with Dragon Paladin. And so, as we've been saying at the beginning of every Twist video, I feel like this format boils down to one of three things. You're either playing dragons, you're playing a Bone Mare deck, or you're playing a Street Trickster deck. And once you kind of get that under your belt, you get that under wraps, understand what's happening, it lets you kind of evolve your deck building a little bit to handle the format and handle the things that you're going to be seeing. And so, while I still feel like Dragon Warrior is probably the best Dragons deck to be taking out there, Paladin does offer up some very interesting cards to make us perhaps want to swing over into the yellow decks instead of playing the red ones, right? That's the way you describe these things, it's by color. And so, to me, the big reason to be moving into Paladin is going to be for the Bronze Explorer. This is just a super top-notch unit in this format. It comes down early, it helps you stall into the late game so you can get your big dragons online, and then the Discover a Dragon ability is one of the best card draw spells in the game. And so, this is a card that the Dragon Warrior decks do not get access to, something that we do get over here within the Paladins, and it, to me, the main reason to come over. Within the space of Paladin, we do get access to a couple of other dragons. We're only playing one copy of each. There's the Bronze Herald, which is a reasonable early game play. It's very stat inefficient, but it does give you a nice little bit of card advantage and let you do things on, say, like turn 5, to where we can play as Subdue and then get a Bronze Herald on the board within the same turn. The more reasonable of the dragons is going to be the Amber Watcher, coming down and doing a gain 8 against a lot of the a lot of the aggro decks in the format is enough to just seal away all of the games. But the things with these cards are, the Bronze Herald isn't super efficient, so we're not super excited about having it. And then the Amber Watcher is a 5-drop, and you can't play like 8 5-drops within your deck. And so we have really kind of cut down the numbers within that space to fit the other things within our deck. The next big thing to call out here is we are playing Subdue. This is a card that I've been quite happy with. It looks like pure garbage, and you're not wrong. Under normal circumstances, playing standard or wild, you're not going to be really interested in a card like Subdue, but the removal within this format is so bad that sometimes you just do what you got to do. If you're thinking in terms of playing Magic and Limited, you will play a 5-cost or a 6-cost removal spell within your deck just because you have to, right? You don't always get the option to play hyper-efficient removal spells like Execute, and it turns out Subdue is just the best that we have access to here with Paladin. Now, it's not to say that that's not completely useless, right? It is very good. It's shrinking down the size of something like Twin Tyrant, or if your opponent has Bone Mare to unit, you have the way to reduce those down so they're much more manageable. But it does still also combo with some of the other cards within our deck. Using Acolyte of Pain with Subdue to take down an opposing unit makes it feel a little bit better, and then the kind of classics like Consecrate are here to potentially take those units down as well. If we have managed to play the Bronze Explorer, there is the AoE Dragon that costs 5 mana that teams up with your Subdue for a little bit of help, but at the end of the day, that's a little bit of a high roll to expect that to come together, and it's not something that happens too commonly. The last kind of things to call out here is we're playing Explosive Sheep. Again, there are a fair number of go wide style of decks out and about and running around, and the Explosive Sheep doesn't really hurt us that much. Our units tend to be big enough to survive a round of the sheep, and so it can buy us that time we need to get our expensive units on board. If we assume that the game is going to drag on and on, the longer the game goes on, the higher position that we're going to be in, the Explosive Sheep helps us get there. The last one to call out is the Keeper of Uldaman. Very highly efficient card in here. Can make combos with Acolyte of Pain, can be used to shrink the opposing Twin Tyrants. This is another fantastic reason to be out here playing Paladin, and it's a spell that you don't get access to in the space of Warrior. And so, that's it. That is the deck we're doing battle with today. Let's go ahead, jump on in, see if we can't get some good games. Now, I will say, now that we are in the space of Legend and Twist, you can see the queue time on there at 4 seconds to 5 minutes. I've been typically having this be about a 4 to 5 minute queue, which is a kind of pain in the dick in terms of trying to make content, right? If I'm just sitting around playing games in the evening, I don't really care, but it is kind of tough in this space to where if I have to sit through 4 and 5 minutes of queues, I run out of stuff to talk about. And so I have to just start pausing the recording, and then I kind of lose my flow at that point. And we tend to play the same people over and over again. And so I don't know if there's a real solution to this, if this is something that we're going to just run into in the space of playing Twist. Like, I was playing earlier at the gym today and was running into people that were in like the rank 80s. And so I figure, what are we at? Like the 17th, 18th for you. If that's it, there's probably only going to be a few hundred legends within this format at any given time. And I'm not certain if, we should just play, at this point, if we should just play Wild until like the last week of the month and then kick it back over to Twist, or how we should handle it. But it does kind of strike me as one of those formats as to where, a lot of people just hit Legend and quit. And there's, I guess, a bit of incentive within Hearthstone to just hit Legend and quit in all of the formats, because that's how you just get more packs, right? And so if you go and hit Legend and Standard and then you get more packs, you go and hit Legend and Wild and hit more packs, and you're like, well, if I'm not intending on hitting rank 1 or something, then I'm just kind of done. And so maybe I'll just go and try and grind out Legend and Twist as well. And I feel like that's just something you run into in Hearthstone. I did like the timers in LOR, as to where once you got to the 2-minute mark, it would really drop down the requirements in terms of who you can queue into, and you can just get more games in that way. And so I'm not certain, at the end of the day, how wonderful that system is in terms of just getting you games against people that may be less competitive, less qualified than you are to be in that space. But I don't know. It's things like you didn't see it too much in the ladder, right? If you were playing LOR and grinding the ladder, you would be in Masters and occasionally get paired down against someone in Diamond, which, depending on the time of the season, right? If you were 2 months into the 2 months into the season and they were like still in Diamond, they were probably more on the casual end of the spectrum than competitive, and probably not the most challenging opponent you'll run into. But it's not like you were just playing against people in Silver, and that's what you would see in Gauntlet on occasion, and that was a real bummer there. That's just not fun for anybody when you're just kind of face rolling people and just moving on, just going purely on autopilot a lot of the time. Nonetheless, I guess that's not a problem anymore, huh? Oh, poor LOR. It's sad. That's sad. All right, though. Maybe the opponents will turn up. All right, there we go. Found one 6 minutes in. It's probably the guy I've been queuing into over and over again. No, it's somebody different. All right, up against Warrior. Let's see what we see. It's not really the start we're looking for. We will hang on to these future emissaries. This is going to be one of the top keeps in our deck, but looking for the cheaper end of things at this point. And then, assuming we're up against Dragon Warrior, pretty reasonable start. If it's the more aggressively oriented Warrior that we've been playing in some of our previous videos, it's a little bit slow to my tastes, but it's certainly okay.
Someone's got to lead the charge.
All right, nothing to do. I need more aggro units out here. I need more pirates out here for the day. Just out here taking things slow just doesn't feel right, All right, I'm going to assume that we're up against dragons at this point. We'll go with the twin Tyrant to just go as big as possible. Typically, at least if I was playing the style of warrior deck that we have, the way that you would kind of want to sequence that is just getting down the the taunt thing on turn 1 and then playing your taunt on turn 2. But just the way this is sequenced, I feel like this is probably going to be dragons. And so with that in mind, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Like, I don't want to freak out too much. I think it's okay to coin. I'm going to Truesilver Champion and just take this thing off of the board. so we can reclaim a little bit of the tempo here. I would like to save the Keeper of Uldaman for just a bigger unit, be it a twin Tyrant of our opponents or a like the big 7/7 tough kind of thing. Just not necessarily what I'm wanting to run into right away. Now this could be a Consecrate. I would wish we had just like one more mana before we slap it down, but I think it would be okay. Like getting to go into the next turn with a future Emissary and a Divine Shield feels kind of okay. So let's just go ahead and take the clear on his board. And then we'll start trying to get our Dragon Bros down. It is a touch clunky of a hand. Would really like to have a Blackwing Corruptor or something about here, but oh shit, he's hero powering. That can't feel good. Just the hero power into nothing? Wow. Wow. Now it's like one of the things I will say about playing Paladin as opposed to Warrior is your hero power does not suck, right? There's just no combos for armor within the space of the format right now, and so I mean it can be useful to get that health gain up and running, but it's not really what you want to be doing. All right, reasonable enough turn. Took a lot of work, and he didn't get particularly far ahead on board. How do we want to handle this here? Like the Bronze Explorer, it does kind of suck to have it just get killed by the opposing unit, but like what's the worst that would happen? We play the dragon, it ties to the weapon, we add the big Ol Whelp, and then if he has an execute, it's fine. The thing that would be bad is if he has his own Blackwing Corruptor. We fall fairly far behind at that point. We're only dropping, you know, one target twin Tyrants, and it's kind of meh. We'll see how it goes. I'm leaning towards the big Ol Whelp in this space. Just continue up with the card draw. Yeah, that would be the angle I don't want to see. If he has the Blackwing Corruptor. And he does. Alright. At least he has a follow-up unit for the Twin Tyrant, right? It's not like the end of the world to be like, oh man, I only get to kill one unit with my Twin Tyrant, right? But letting that value just slip out of your fingers just never feels good. Never feels right. I may be an aggro player at heart, but man, letting value slip by is just it's a tough thing to do. All right, is this the unit we're finally willing to drop a Keeper of Uldaman on? The thing with being able to drop the Keeper of Uldaman here is like we can play the Keeper, we can shrink the unit, we can get the attack in, and then we can use the Amber Watcher to heal our dragon to protect it from an execute. So that's a nice little advantage in that spot. Make him at least put in a little bit more work if he wants to execute the Tyrant.
The dragons come, and we are many.
All right, well, I'm ready to start just kind of going for the value path here. It was going to be the decision between Acolyte of Pain I was going to do the Acolyte of Pain and the Evasive Wyrm. Maybe we still want to just Acolyte of Pain anyways. We still have the 2 Subdues in our deck. I think I'm on board. This also gives us a little bit of protection in the sense that if he wants to start playing like Ravaging Ghouls, then having the Acolyte of Pain on board does let us get the card draw off of that. So if he's going to play a Ravaging Ghoul, or if he was going to try and make a Warpath style of play, then we do get the protection from that. It's going to be another good Twin Tyrant. Let's lead off with the dragon first, though. See what we discover. Just another big Ol Whelp. Alright, not bad. Got a big old board. We got card advantage for days. I'm curious if there's a spot we ever have to worry to where opponent just like warpaths 4 times and makes us deck ourselves. I think we're fairly far away from worrying about that, but
No tomb can hold me.
it could be a danger.
No tomb can hold me.
This will break your wall. That's hot.
Okay. What we got is another twin tyrant. just twin tyrants for days, huh? All right, so many big old dragons on the board. You guys ready for a D's nuts? if you're not familiar with that parlance, that's one of the D's nuts jokes my brother likes to use. Is
No tomb can hold me.
what's he doing? He's attacking our little guys. Sure. Is you ask somebody, do you like dragons, and then you say, do you want a dragon? These nuts. It's very, very awesome. Very classical. We're not at lethal, right? We only have 13 damage with the Truesilver.
Once upon a time.
How do we feel about any of these? Probably just the Scalebane. We can play the Emissary and then play one of our 5s as well. Probably just want the Scalebane as our target. Just take that big stat line off of the board. Might have been reasonable enough to just go for attacks. Like, I'm gonna say there's a chance you can just come in and warpath our whole board. I don't think it's too bad. I mean, losing all of our dudes does kind of suck, but we still have quite a bit of follow-up for the next turn. And a Volcanic Drake. Cute. Alright. A wiser player may have drawn the card before they just spewed it all in, but it felt reasonable enough for me to just come out and start slamming. Do still have to worry about the potential appearance of those twin tyrant style of cards. I think we're in a decent spot to just start getting wide. Still have 8 cards left in our deck. Let's add another 6/6. I'm going to look to add these Keeper of Uldamans to the board. Interesting pickup with Subdue as well. At that point, we don't necessarily need to... we got 10 damage for Corruptors in hand as well. Alright, we should be good. I was wanting to keep the Corruptors so we could just nug the 10 damage directly to face. See if he finds a good taunt. Get plenty of combos to stop the taunts with these Keeper of Uldamans in hand. Alright, so he's at 26, we have 28, right? We've got 18 on board, 10 in hand. Look at how good I'm getting at math. That was the thing with LOR, huh? They didn't make you actually... They didn't make you to do math. They just showed it to you anyways. Get it right out of the way. All right, nonetheless, GG. Well played. See you in 7 minutes, I guess. All right, battle number 2. We'll see what we got. A hunter? What the fuck is this thing? You know, you never see hunters on here. All right, let's see how it goes. And so, with this, like on the coin, I feel kind of okay about hanging on to something like Blackwing Corruptor. It's such a strong like tempo recovery kind of play that I think it'll be fine here. I'm not entirely certain what you're supposed to run into when we go up against Hunter. Like I could definitely see it just being a like an Undertaker deck, and giving up on Truesilver Champion to not have a way to kill an Undertaker in the early game might be kind of meh, but seems like opponent hasn't done his he hasn't been giving his blessings to RN Jesus. So here most definitely just want the Amber Watcher, getting the 8 health gain against a Hunter that hero powers on 2. Has to be positive, right? The old poisonous imp gang boss comes in. I'm not entirely certain what we're dealing with here. Like it's like, do we need to save Subdue for something a little bit stronger than this? I'm gonna go with no. I don't think he's gotta have much better plays than that. But yeah, let's just go with the Herald. I think we can recover out of this. I don't want to attack the Imp Gang boss right away. I don't want to give him those extra imps. We'll plan on just taking it down with what's on board. And then if he does come at us with some kind of more impressive play like a Cave Hydra, we have a little bit better answers to that. Maybe that's where the Subdue goes, and we just chill out on trying to be too aggressive within hand here. That wasn't a bad Subdue, right? He took down Caved Hydra, took down the +2/+2 card. So we 2 for 1 demand, 1 like 3 or 4 mana in the trade. That's not bad. That's not bad. I did the mathematics on it. It came back okay. The mathematics seemed just fine. Alright, well, we're not letting him keep these poison units on board. Get our Corruptor down. This ultimately feels super, super safe here. If he wants to trade his whole board plus a hero power to take our Corruptor down, that feels like a win to me. Oh, he says, "F that noise. I know where I'm going, and it's the face place." It's like we're 100% gonna take the sharpshooter down, so he's not just shooting our units with the ability. But the questions: do we want to just be like mana efficient with the Evasive Wyrm? I'm kind of leaning towards. I'm really just wanting to protect our units at this point, but it's like, do we get a lot out of coining this Sand Breath onto the board? I'll just make a sad little grunt, I guess. All right, how about now? We ready to coin? No. We'll find a point, I guess. It seems like we're just infinitely far ahead at this stage. That was a pretty decent pickup with the Twin Tyrant, but we have the Subdue ready to go. So it's been dealt with.
Looks like I'm here just in time.
We'll probably find somewhere to play the coin. I don't know. We might get 11 mana within the same turn, right? We can still look to Twin Tyrant and then maybe Acolyte of Pain or something. Oh, that's a little scarier than I wanted to give it credit for. See where this falls. 3-3 down, and another 3-3 down. Okay.
At last, a worthy foe.
Give a beast 2-2. So he's out of cards. It's going to be a matter of if we can recover fast enough. Getting enough stuff on board to fight through this. This dude will help. He's going to make the Twin Tyrant cost 7. So we'll drop to 6, but we can coin, finally get our Tyrant on board. Seems reasonable. He's just got to be sending everything to face at this point. Fungal was a pretty good draw. So how low are we gonna dip here? To 6? Yep. Might just be dead. Might just be dead. Gotta drop the big Ol Whelp. See if we can't pick up a Consecrate or something. Sand Breath isn't going to do it. I guess maybe we should have played the Explorer first to try and discover the Life Steal Dragon, the Heal Dragon. That's tough. It felt like we were ultimately like very, very in control there. We had him down to absolutely nothing, and then those were a couple of pickups of a Fungal Mancer that were painful. I don't know the exact answer there. If there was an angle that we took the wrong way. That's rough. One of the things I have been interested in with this deck is just like the 1/1 taunt Divine Shield unit, just as a way to put it on board and buy a little bit of time. I'm curious if that's not a thing that we should be fitting in here. But nonetheless, I'm going to take the greedy approach. I assume that we're up against a Dragon Warrior deck and we don't need to be hanging on to Consecrate, Subdue, and see if we can't just get these greedy approaches here. That was a nice queue, though. That queue only took under a minute. Everybody must be out there enjoying their Saturday.
This place is scary.
It's not a particularly compelling future Emissary, though. Like, we're going to pick up a dragon off this Historian we play on turn 2, but it's only... I like the Evasive Wyrms in the mirror or the dragon matchup, but right, we're really only boosting the 2 units at this point.
Let the pain speak to me.
So do we want to go ahead and just drop the 4/4? It's like the downside to putting the Emissary on board is that we don't have any plays on the following turn. I think we're just gonna stick it in hand for a little bit.
Which path to choose?
It's like I don't really want to get any of this stuff on board. All right, I'll hold back on the token. Like, he's going to get a 2-card draw off of the Acolyte of Pain, but this might develop into a decent Consecrate next turn. If he wants to attack his Acolyte of Pain into our 2/5 and then play a more value-oriented unit. And then I'm okay with that. I just don't want him drawing 3 off of this Acolyte of Pain. How do we feel about that now? Like, I think we are to the point where we have to coin. Like, we can coin the Corruptor and take down the Tar Creeper if we want. And that still leaves him in that same spot to where he's only getting one more card draw off of the Acolyte of Pain. I think this is okay.
Which path to choose? I wield the power of Blackwing.
Still gives us a bit of opportunity to make a decent Consecrate in the future, or like we might do the classic equality Consecrate, except with the Subdue, right? If he just adds one big boy to the board, we have that kind of potential if the Subdue ever turns up. The awkward spot we've gotten ourselves into, though, is say like he plays his own Blackwing Corruptor next turn, then we can't like directly get to it with our Evasive Wyrms, right? We can get to it with the Blackwing Corruptor of our own, but we can't get those attacks through until we get this little taunt unit off of the board.
The dragons come, and we are many.
Well, let's just keep at it. So I think this plays out okay. Like he's getting to the point where he'll start wanting to play his twin Tyrants next turn, and they're quite good with what we have. But if like he just adds a dude this turn, and then we get to play our Emissary and play a hero power, that gives us a decent protection against it. It's going to depend on if he's coming at us with what you called a Evasive Wyrm of his own. All right, that's manageable.
The dragons come.
We'll get the sheep down. Nothing too crazy. If he wants to attack the sheep and then get a trade off of his taunt unit, that's fine. If he wants to play the twin terrors at this point, that's fine as well. It's not super intimidating. Although we don't have the shrinkable answer to take the twin terror off of the board. Bringing that heat. I don't know. I'm not entirely pleased with how we've played this game. We've really gotten worked over by these just like tiny little taunt units on board that we don't have any good answers to. We'll see where that takes us. I mean, I assume he's probably just going to trade, but leaving these big 6/4s on board, getting ready to get answered by Twin Tyrants, not something you're really excited about. It's tough to tell. He had I felt like a good one on the last turn. It doesn't strike me as him having the Tyrant in this space. It seems like he's had some good angles to play Evasive Wyrms as well. Dragon Slayer, sure. I forget that people play this card. I don't think that it's very good is my thing, and so when I see it comes down, I always just get a little bit surprised. We are a fair bit behind though, just in terms of card advantage. He's down to 15 cards in deck to our 18, so he's up 3 in that sense. He's gotten 2 taunt discovers that are still within his hand from those frightened flunkies, and so we need some of our card advantage to land. It's just the way the game is today. It just is what it is. Nothing can go right this game. We might just be dead here. He's got 11 on board. It's very easy to die. It's just whenever you like see these games play out, and what are we on here? Turn 8. He's finished 3 turns, 3 separate turns with a 1 health taunt unit on board. Something has gone wrong. Now, whether or not that's the way that we played it or just the way the game kind of sequenced itself out could be up for debate, but that's definitely not how you want these games to be going. We should just be tempoed out at this point. Like that's the problem with the explosive sheeps, is we don't have a way to just kill it and like get the clears where we need to, and so. Alright, that was tough. Like that's exactly where the problem was there, though, right? Whenever you're in this spot and you're like, oh my god, he's got a 2-1 after the turn, and then it's like, oh my god, he's got another 2-1 after the turn, and then, oh my god, he's got another 2-1 after the turn. Like if those had been units boosted by the dragon, right? If those were dragon units we were running into problems with, then it would be one thing. Just to see his be 1 bigger than ours, but that was rough. All right, so how do we feel about this? Like, it's that kind of same spot we were in previously. I think this is okay. It just I have a tough time envisioning Hunter coming at us like super fast, and it's like the Amber Watcher is so good in this match, and I like the idea of being, it's like, well, if he's on an Undertaker start and we get to Truesilver Champion it on 3, that's fine, and then if he's not, just being able to mid-range him for a bit's pretty good. Just its downside, it's a little clunky as we mulligan and pick up a 6 cost. Very reasonable expectation to just get tempoed out of this game. This is wild to me over here to see the hand ranks. I finally figured out what the hand rank means. It ranks your starting deck off to the right in terms of the best keeps, and seeing Big Old Dragon or Big Ol Whelp as the #1 keep in this format, that's just got to be 100% wrong to me. Can't imagine that that's that's a accurate and valid statement. Do we just get on board? Like, oh, never mind. I got a little confused. I thought I saw on the right, you can watch the right and see what card you draw before it hits your hand. I thought that we drew a Sand Breath, and so I was thinking, do we want to get the Netherspite Historian on board with the Sand Breath? But I read into that wrong. Okay, I think we're kind of safe to just play. Well, the thing is, like, we're kind of safe to just play on curve, but our hand just sucks so much at this point. Let's get the Historian in. I'm gonna say, see if we hit the AoE unit. It doesn't turn up. I'm just gonna go with the Bronze Herald. It's the cheapest play. The fuck is this? I've never even seen this card. just a random 6/5 coming at you. His doubling imps are going to be pretty good. Hitting the doubling imp to get the double poison against dragons is nothing to scoff at. Oh, he's just going face. Oh, snap. Wow, wow. Well, I think we can recover out of that. We're like a little bit behind, but we can do some work in terms of preventing this damage. So now we've got the poisons off of the board. think we've recovered. We do have the Amber Watcher to gain a bunch of health. We have the Subdue for whatever giant unit's about to hit the board. All seems reasonable to me. Secret comes in, okay. I guess I could have stopped and read what these secrets are. I think we're safe, right? Bear Trap, attack opponent, use hero power. We won't do it. Explosive Trap is attack opponent. He could have Freezing Trap, which would be annoying. Pressure Plate. After your opponent casts a spell, destroy a random enemy minion. Okay, whatever. So I would like to be mana efficient this turn. Like, which of these are we most worried about? I mean, I think it would most realistically be one of these things that are just going to go with the opponent's face.
What would Uther do? Looks like I'm here just
Right.
in time. Job done.
So many card advantages.
At last, unworthy.
All right, so no fresh secrets hitting the board. We should be safe to do the Evasive Wyrm, even if he has a snipe. Divine Shield will soak. Oh, the snipe's just clearly gone. Well, I was gonna say the thing I would like to do if we had the potential, the possibility to do it, would be to keep his board completely clear. Right? He's kind of at this space to where you want to play Bone Mare and get a full attack in with it, but we can't kill both of the units since this 2/5 doesn't die to the Twin Terror.
Which path to choose?
I think we're still stuck just dropping it. Like, we can't just face down these units and be like, oh, you're welcome to just send it to face and then start burning me out. So I think that's okay. It's not ideal. I do think we're going to get bone mared here, but it's kind of is what it is.
I just need a volunteer.
Oh boy, a Street Trickster coming out of that thing? Wow. That's not what you want to see. That's definitely scary. So let's see. I did kind of miss that was going to happen, but I think it's okay. We finally figured out what the secret was. Would we rather go with an explosive sheep here, though? I could definitely see it being relevant in terms of clearing out the board. Like, this should be the turn where we're able to turn the corner. Absolutely, you can kill all these units as long as he's not dealing damage to face. I don't really care. I would love to have another Amber Watcher, though. Let's actually play the big Ol Whelp. If it's a snipe, I want the unit that can survive it. Oh shit, snipe used to deal 4 damage. Fuck. How the times change, huh? How the times change. Well, we should have done that the other way. I still haven't gotten my head that some of these cards are different than they used to be. just seeing the snipe come down for 6 is like, oh, well that was clearly not ideal. All right. Are we dead? Are we dead? One of life's great questions. Feels like we should be. Like, I'm pretty certain that we're going to get board back and we're going to be okay in that sense, but we're not going to be able to kill before he kills us with the hero power. He's dropped us to 5. And we don't have it in here. What is this, like 8, 13 on board? We're not going to come up with 11. Hi, GG. That's tough. I don't think that we would have won that had we played our cards in the correct order. But not having the unit on board there was certainly a disaster. Right, having 2 units instead of 1 was a pretty big deal, and that's just on me. You play the game for 5 years and snipe deals 4 damage. You leave for 5 years and come back and just expect it to be 4 damage, and it's not anymore. And so it's like, I know that you can like highlight the secret and see it, but like one of the big things in terms of like picking up the game is like as you get more reps in, the amount of stuff you have to think about shrinks because you just know stuff, and like you're able to just, be like, okay, this situation has come about. I have, 100 things I have to think about, and you're very able to quickly just shuffle away like 50 of those, and then you only have 50 things to think about. But like between trying to like recollect that space and get back in that spot, this is one of those things where autopilot kind of hits and you're like, okay, here's the situation. I have 2 units to get on board. I want to play them in the order to where my unit doesn't die. And so I want to play my 5 because it's going to take 4 and then we get to roll on. And the game has changed and I have to kind of like rewire how that thinking goes. All right. As the final battle begins. Yeah, that was reminding me of one of those spots to where I'll see people getting, upset and angry at spots like that, and it's just not the way you can do it. If you're ever wanting to improve at the game and get better and increase your ranks, that's the kind of mindset that you have to be in, as to where that's not a space of anger playing our playing our Whelp and having the snipe deal 6 instead of 4. You got to be kind of in the mindset of, okay, I learned something. I'm not gonna rage quit and throw my Xbox controller across the room. And so, it's still some positives out there for it. All right, who do we want to lead in with though? This is going to be a pretty telling one to me. Oh, geez. These are all very expensive. I was hoping for a kind of mid-cost kind of dragon. Do we ever get to turn 9? Probably not. I feel like we have enough early game stuff to where I don't need the Bronze Herald, though. Let's just take the Tyrant. Lost my train of thought. All right, so how big do we want to go? I think the explosive sheep is probably just enough, right? Let's see where that gets us. He still has some decent attacks before the sheep pops. Like, he can send his creeper into the 1/3 and then attack our sheep with his 2/3, and then at the end of the day he'll still have his 2 spiderlings left over and be able to add units behind. But I think that that's okay. Like, the poison units are just a real pain in the ass, and so getting those gone is a pretty big deal. Alright, not bad. We should be able to recover pretty well from there. Just gotta get that little bit of tempo recovery. Oh, using hero powers. Oh, that was it. I was expecting something more to happen once this came on board. I thought I was going to transform into something, but apparently not. How are we supposed to read into that? Like, could he really not find something better to do in that space? Like, his hand just has to be full of expensive stuff. Like, I guess if he wants to play a Fungal Mancer this turn, it's kind of fine. I don't know. I would love to see what the Hunter's hand is at this point. Like, I'm looking at this, like, we don't even have to clear board this turn. We can just, like, Keeper of Uldaman, Acolyte of Pain if we want. Doesn't... that doesn't do it for me. Just being in these spots to where we get to finish the turn, where we have units and he doesn't, seems like where we want to be, right? I don't want to get bone mared. And then if he tries to go wide again, we have the Tyrant in hand already. And then I'm curious to see how it goes in terms of... if we can't finally get a good Bronze Explorer this game. Like, we have such good heal cards, but they aren't really wanting to make an appearance. What you got? Bear Trap. See ya, bear. Oh, and he's got a twin Tyrant, huh? Not what I was expecting. Guess that's what happens when the dragon makes an appearance.
None may steal our secrets.
So how do we want to go from here? Like, I don't want to be attacking his units with the Truesilver Champion. I would prefer to use it just as a kind of heal spell. So I think we'll pull back on that. Getting him really close to 15 if we want to take the Drachnoid Crusher. Okay, I think we're fine. It does give him opportunity for a Bone Mare round. I guess with the Locust, you know, he could have had the Bone Mare whenever he wanted it, so maybe it's not something to really worry about. Right, he could have attacked with his weapon and then got the rush unit and then Bone Mared it from there, so it's not something that's fresh this turn. Sure. This is interesting because it's like I want to be efficient with our mana and spend it all, but I don't want to give up our opportunities to have like the instant actions like out of the Corruptor. I think we just play these two dragons here. And then we still keep the opportunity to, you know, recover tempo with the Truesilver Champion. I'm like, Truesilver Champion heals 3? The things you learn, huh? The things you learn. Oh man, maybe we should have taken a unit off the board. Like, I gave up on... I gave up on Bone Mare being a thing, but the Fungal Mancers are fairly annoying here. Lethal like that, I guess. All right. taking it down at the end of the day. GG. So much Hunter. We can pull this up and talk about it a little bit more. And so, you know, as far as this deck goes, I'm happy with the vast majority of it, and it does have a bit of flexibility to it, right? And so I feel like the Sand Breaths, the Explosive Sheep, the Bronze Herald, and the Amber Watcher are kind of the flex spaces, and everything else within this deck I'm pretty happy with. And so you have a good, 22 card starting point that you can take and pick and choose based on what you're seeing. Now, like in my prep and what I've seen over the course of the past couple of days, I've run into a lot of Token Druid, I've run into a lot of Silverhand Paladin. And there's been this kind of like waning of Dragon Warrior over the past few days, and so that's why you're starting to see things like Explosive Sheep. But it was not particularly impressive today. It's just fairly meh in that you don't get the agency in deciding when it blows up, and you're just kind of putting it down and being like, well, I'm gonna hope for the best. I'm gonna hope that you just slam all of your stuff onto the board and have no answer to the sheep, and it just doesn't feel that great. And so, to me, this is like the quickest and the easiest cut. The format needs to be like very, very aggressive for the sheep to be playable, or you need ways to just give it taunt and make it not ignorable and stuff. And so that's where I lean. As to that's the one that would go. The thing that I was really wanting more of today was Amber Watcher. Now that can be kind of a function of playing against Hunter 3 times, but we did get to showcase some of the other Amber Watcher kind of things as to where we attack with the Twin Terror. It gets damage on it. The opponent wants to execute it. Now we heal that damage back off of the Twin Terror, and opponent has to do something different to get him off of the board now with the execute. And so reasonable kind of stuff there. But, as far as, Paladin goes and the things I have to say is Subdue is a card that I've just been really impressed with in this format. Again, it seems like it should be garbage. This is not a card that you would be really excited to play about in Wild or even in Standard, but I feel like it really has its place out here within this Twist format, just given that the way things go. Even playing against that Hunter in the last game, he was the one that had the 4/6 Cave Hydra that we subdued, and then he also had the Twin Terrors generated off of the Dragon Discover thing. And so you do have lots of angles as to where you find fantastic targets, and there's just not anything better, right? You're not playing Equality because it doesn't exist. Whatever other Paladin based removal spells, there's only like the hammer, right? The Hammer of Wrath is all that really exists at this point. And the Subdue just feels like it's just a necessary evil that doesn't even feel that bad. And then especially having the kind of side combos with the like of Acolyte of Pain makes it feel pretty good. So to me, the kind of like last few things to call out with this is, we did play against Hunter quite a bit. We may want to, kind of indulge more ways to boost the health and the attack of the Bronze Explorer. Like hitting the Bronze Explorer with Sand Breaths would have been pretty good, or if you have the Hand of a Doll to give it 2/1 and draw a card, it keeps you with things to do. That's a potential place to go. But again, the thing that I really was wanting for the most part was just Argent Crusaders, right? The 1/1 Divine Shield taunt for 1. And that's not is something to put down in the early game, right? We're not trying to play it on turn 1. We're not trying to put down another Spite Historian and then play the Protector after it. It's supposed to be on that space to where it's like turn 6, right? It's turn 6, the opponent's starting to overwhelm us. We can't just put a big unit on board and hope that that's good enough. We need to, say, like, play the big Ol Whelp and then play the Protector next to it, and then the opponent has to put forth the work to take that unit, take the Divine Shield taunt off of the board. It's kind of like a reverse tempo play, if you will, like a defensive tempo play in the sense that it's giving you that way to shut down the opponent in this very non-interactive format, and then allow the big Ol Whelp to perhaps stay on board, and then the next turn you can follow up with a Whelp attack and an Evasive Wyrm attack and recover some of the space that it took to do that. And so that's where I would kind of lean with this deck, is I would like to take out the 2 copies of Explosive Sheep, probably add in those 2 copies of Divine Protector, and then I would like to fit in 1 more copy of Amber Watcher. I'm not entirely certain where that fits, if that means cutting out a Keeper of Uldaman or cutting out the Bronze Herald. Having the 6 5-drops feels like a lot, but that was also the card that I was really just wanting over and over and over again over the course of all the games. Nonetheless, good set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too. 'cause that is going to do it for us today. So if everyone enjoyed the video, we maybe learned a thing or two along the way, you had a good time watching. This is Bustin'. We thank you for being here.